Welcome to Divine Resonance. Listen to the power within, a profound journey inspired by Dr. Dyer's timeless wisdom. In this motivational speech, we explore how tuning into your inner energy can transform your reality, elevate your consciousness, and align you with the divine frequency of creation itself. Prepare to awaken the still, powerful voice within, the one that guides, heals, and empowers you to manifest your highest potential. The inner voice is not something external that you have to search for in the world. It is a sacred vibration that has always been within you. It is the language of the divine, speaking softly, patiently, and eternally. Most people move through life drowned in the noise of fear, opinions, expectations, and endless mental chatter, so they fail to hear it. Yet the inner voice never leaves. It simply waits for your willingness to listen. When you begin to quiet your restless thoughts and tune into that subtle whisper inside, you realize that this voice is not made of words. It is energy, intuition, a knowing that transcends logic. It does not argue, it does not compete for your attention. It simply is. The challenge for most of us is not that the divine guidance isn't present, but that our awareness is tuned to the wrong frequency. The ego's voice is loud, urgent, and filled with fear. The divine voice is gentle, consistent, and filled with love. Learning to tell the difference between the two is the first step in aligning with the higher intelligence that governs all creation. Every person, regardless of background or belief, has access to this inner source. You were born connected to it, but conditioning, pain, and self-doubt often cloud that connection. When Dr. Dyer spoke about the power within, he was reminding us that God, the universe, or the source, whatever name you give it, is not separate from you. You are not a fragment detached from creation. You are creation expressing itself in a unique form. The inner voice is the bridge between your physical self and your spiritual essence. It's the compass that directs you when logic fails, the quiet truth that emerges when confusion reigns. It speaks in moments of stillness, through feelings, synchronicities, and even the subtleties of life's timing. It doesn't demand, it invites, it doesn't threaten, it reassures. To live in alignment with it is to move from reaction to response, from chaos to clarity, from fear to faith. To hear that divine whisper, you must cultivate silence, not just the absence of external noise, but inner silence where your thoughts slow down and your awareness expands. Meditation, prayer, reflection, and even solitude are sacred practices that help you attune to that space. The mind loves to analyze, categorize, and compare, but the voice of the divine speaks in the language of being, not doing. It is not found in intellectual understanding, but in experiential knowing. You begin to recognize it in the way your heart feels when something is right or wrong, in the peace that follows certain decisions, in the energy that pulls you towards certain paths. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes, and the more you ignore it, the fainter it seems. Yet even when you resist it, it waits. That's the beauty of divine guidance. It's infinitely patient because it knows that you'll return when you're ready. The ego, on the other hand, thrives on urgency. It convinces you that you are separate, that you must control everything, that safety lies in logic alone. It fears surrender because surrender feels like losing control. But to listen to your inner voice is not to give up control. It's to hand it over to a higher intelligence that sees beyond what you can. This voice doesn't shout commands. It suggests directions through feelings, insights, and deep peace. When you begin to act on these intuitive nudges, you realize that life unfolds with more grace. Opportunities appear not by chance, but by resonance. People enter your life at the exact right time. Doors open where before there were walls, and what once felt like struggle begins to flow effortlessly. This is the divine frequency guiding you from within, orchestrating events that align with your higher good. Dr. Dyer often said that when you trust this inner guidance, you begin to see the world differently. What once seemed random now feels purposeful. Challenges become teachers. Delays become redirections. You no longer measure success by outcomes, but by alignment, by how deeply you feel connected to your truth. You realize that intuition is not a mystical ability reserved for a few. It is the natural intelligence of your soul. Every time you listen and act in faith rather than fear, that connection strengthens. Every time you doubt yourself, the ego gains power. But even in doubt, the inner voice remains your anchor, waiting for you to turn inward again. Listening to it becomes a spiritual practice, a way of living, not a task to complete. There are moments when the inner voice leads you to decisions that defy logic. You might be guided to leave a job that looks secure, to forgive someone who hurt you, or to take a step toward a dream that seems impossible. To the mind, this makes no sense. But the inner voice doesn't speak to the mind, it speaks to your soul. It knows your potential long before you do. It leads you through experiences designed to awaken you, to help you remember who you really are. When you ignore it, you feel restless, out of place, disconnected. When you follow it, even if the path looks uncertain, you feel a strange peace, a knowing that you are exactly where you're meant to be. That is the resonance of truth. That is divine alignment. Learning to listen is a process of trust. You have to learn to let go of the need to know everything in advance. You have to let go of the fear that you might make a mistake. Divine guidance doesn't always come with explanations. It comes with energy, with a pull, a whisper that says, "This way." The more you follow it, the more faith you develop, and the more faith you develop, the stronger your connection becomes. This is how spiritual growth unfolds, not through external teachings, but through the daily practice of listening, trusting, and acting. You start to understand that life is not happening to you, it's happening through you. The same creative intelligence that spins galaxies and grows flowers is the same energy that breathes through your soul. When you align with it, you no longer need to chase your purpose, you live it naturally. There's also a humility that comes with listening to the inner voice. You begin to understand that wisdom doesn't come from your limited perspective, but from the infinite intelligence of Source. This realization dissolves pride, softens judgment, and deepens compassion. You stop seeing others as separate or wrong and begin to recognize the same divine spark within them. When you live from this awareness, you become a vessel for love rather than fear. Your presence alone begins to uplift others. You no longer preach about spirituality, you embody it. You speak less but mean more. You do less but achieve more because your actions are infused with divine alignment rather than egoic ambition. There are times when this voice will guide you into stillness rather than action, asking you to wait, to trust, to rest. This can be difficult in a world that glorifies constant movement, but silence is not inactivity, it is gestation. The divine voice often speaks loudest when you stop trying to control. It leads you inward to the heart where all answers already exist. As you learn to listen, you realize that guidance doesn't come only in meditation, but in every moment, in the wind, in a song, in a conversation, in synchronicities that defy coincidence. Life becomes a dialogue with the divine, a continuous exchange between your soul and the universe. You begin to see that every experience, even the painful ones, carries a message, a lesson, or a gift. Nothing is wasted in divine orchestration. As your relationship with this inner voice deepens, you begin to feel less alone. You recognize that you are guided, supported, and loved beyond measure. You start to trust life again. Fear begins to dissolve, not because challenges disappear, but because you realize you are never without guidance. You move through life with grace because you are aligned with something greater than yourself. You stop trying to force outcomes and start flowing with what feels divinely inspired. This is the essence of living in divine resonance, to listen deeply, to trust fully, and to act from the heart rather than the mind. It's not a skill to master, but a way of being to remember. The divine voice within is your eternal companion, your truest friend. The presence of God whispering through the stillness of your soul, aligning with the frequency of love, means coming into harmony with the highest vibration that exists in the universe. Love is not merely an emotion that fluctuates with circumstances. It is a state of being, a resonance, an energetic truth that connects every soul to its divine origin. Wayne Dyer often said that everything in the universe vibrates, and what you are aligned with determines the experiences you attract. When you are in fear, you resonate with scarcity, resistance, and separation. When you are in love, you resonate with abundance, ease, and unity. The frequency of love is the natural rhythm of the soul. It is where you came from and what you are made of. To align with it is not to learn something new, but to remember what you have forgotten under layers of conditioning and ego-driven patterns that have distanced you from your true nature. Love as a frequency is the essence of creation itself. Every particle of existence vibrates with divine intelligence, and that intelligence is love expressing itself through form. Trees grow because of love, oceans move with love, stars burn with love, and the human heart beats because love sustains it. This frequency is the source from which all miracles unfold, but humans often tune themselves away from it by living in fear, resentment, and doubt. To realign is to consciously choose thoughts, feelings, and actions that match this higher vibration. It is to say yes to compassion instead of judgment, to forgiveness instead of bitterness, to gratitude instead of complaint. Each of these shifts changes your energetic frequency, and brings you closer to the vibration of divine love. It's not a theory, but a real energetic transformation that alters how reality responds to you. When you radiate love, life mirrors that energy back through synchronicities, supportive people, and experiences that nurture your growth. To align with love requires awareness of what pulls you away from it. The human mind is wired to protect, to analyze, and to survive, and in that survival mode, love often feels unsafe. Many people have built walls around their hearts, believing those walls will protect them from pain, but those same walls block the flow of divine energy. Love is the ultimate act of surrender. It asks you to open even when you've been hurt, to trust even when outcomes are uncertain, to give without demanding return. This kind of love is not weak, it is the greatest strength there is because it transcends fear. The ego wants control, but love wants connection. The ego demands proof, but love trusts the unseen. The ego compares, competes, and condemns, while love accepts, uplifts, and unites. When you begin to choose love in every moment, you start to notice that fear loses its power over you. The same situations that once triggered anger or defensiveness now become opportunities to respond from a higher consciousness. Dyer. Dyer often spoke of love as the force that dissolves illusion. When you align with it, the barriers between you and others start to fade. You begin to see that every person is an extension of the same divine source. The judgments you once held become unnecessary because you understand that everyone is doing the best they can from their current level of awareness. Love expands your perception. It allows you to see not only what is, but what could be. It softens you without weakening you. It gives you the courage to face pain with compassion and to transform wounds into wisdom. The more you embody love, the more your energy field becomes a healing presence for others. Without even speaking, your vibration uplifts the space you enter. People feel calmer, safer, more inspired around you, not because of what you do, but because of what you are radiating. To live in this vibration, you must learn to forgive yourself and others. Forgiveness is one of the purest expressions of divine love because it breaks the energetic bonds that keep you tied to lower frequencies. When you hold on to resentment, you stay trapped in the past. You replay old pain and carry it into the present moment, which blocks new blessings from flowing in. Forgiveness is not about approving what happened, it's about choosing peace over pain. It's about saying, I will no longer let this energy control my vibration. As you release the weight of the past, you rise to a higher frequency where love flows freely again. You begin to see how every experience, even the painful ones, was guiding you back toward love, teaching you what it means to love more deeply and more unconditionally. Gratitude is another key that tunes you into the frequency of love. When you appreciate what you have, you instantly raise your vibration. Gratitude is love in action. It transforms lack into abundance, worry into faith, and resistance into acceptance. The more you practice it, the more aligned you become with the creative flow of the universe. Dr. Dyer would often remind his listeners that you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. When you are grateful, you are already in the vibration of receiving. You acknowledge the divine presence that exists in every breath, every sunrise, every challenge. Gratitude brings you into the present moment, and the present moment is where love lives. The past is memory, the future is imagination, but love only exists now, here, in the eternal presence of your awareness. Self-love is perhaps the most profound aspect of aligning with the frequency of love. Many people try to love others while neglecting themselves, but you cannot give what you do not possess. To love yourself is not vanity, it is recognition of the divine essence within you. When you treat yourself with kindness, when you honor your body, your mind, and your spirit, you affirm your connection to the source. You begin to operate from wholeness rather than need. Self-love teaches you boundaries without bitterness, confidence without arrogance, and peace without dependency. It is through loving yourself that you understand how to love others authentically. When you are at peace with who you are, you no longer seek validation from the outside world. You move through life guided by the quiet knowing that you are enough because you are a reflection of divine love itself. Aligning with love also means becoming aware of the energy you emit. Every thought, word, and emotion carries a vibration. When you think thoughts of fear, anger, or envy, you lower your energetic field and attract experiences that match that vibration. When you choose thoughts of love, generosity, and compassion, you raise your frequency and draw in experiences of harmony and abundance. It's not about suppressing negative emotions, but about transforming them through awareness. When you feel anger, you can meet it with love by asking what it's trying to teach you. When you feel sadness, you can love yourself through it rather than resist it. This loving awareness alchemizes pain into understanding. The more you do this, the more your energy stabilizes in the vibration of love, and life begins to reflect that stability through peace, synchronicity, and fulfillment in relationships. Aligning with love transforms the way you connect with others. Instead of seeking to be right, you seek to understand. Instead of demanding love, you become love. You stop seeing others as sources of happiness and start sharing your inner happiness with them. This shift changes everything because you no longer approach relationships from lack but from abundance. You communicate with compassion, you forgive easily, and you attract people who mirror your elevated vibration. Love becomes the foundation rather than the goal. This doesn't mean every relationship will last forever, but it means every relationship serves its purpose to teach, to awaken, to expand your capacity to love. Even the difficult ones become sacred teachers, guiding you toward deeper self-awareness and divine compassion. The frequency of love also manifests in how you treat the world around you. When you live in love, you naturally respect life. You feel connected to nature, to animals, to the planet itself. You understand that every act of kindness ripples through the collective energy field of humanity. Love becomes your contribution to the healing of the world. When you smile at a stranger, when you speak words of encouragement, when you give without expectation, you raise not only your own vibration, but the vibration of those around you. You become a transmitter of divine energy, a living expression of God's presence in the world. This is how love transforms not only individuals but societies, not only hearts but destinies. There are moments when maintaining alignment with love feels difficult. Pain, loss, disappointment, and betrayal can lower your vibration and make love seem distant. But those moments are not evidence that love has left you. They are invitations to return to it more deeply. Love is not the absence of suffering. It is the awareness that carries you through it. Even in grief, you can love. Even in uncertainty, you can trust. Love becomes not an emotional reaction, but a spiritual practice. It's the decision to keep your heart open when it would be easier to close it. It's the willingness to bless what hurts, to see meaning in what challenges, and to continue radiating kindness even when the world seems unkind. This unwavering choice to stay in love, regardless of circumstances, is the essence of divine alignment. When you begin to embody this frequency consistently, your outer world starts to shift. The energy you carry becomes magnetic. People are drawn to your calmness, opportunities align effortlessly, and life begins to flow with grace. This is not magic, it's resonance. You have tuned yourself to the vibration of creation itself. The same frequency that moves planets and births galaxies now moves through you consciously. You no longer struggle to attract what you desire because you are already aligned with it. Love becomes your natural state, and in that state, all things are possible. This is what Dr. Wayne Dyer meant when he said, "You'll see it when you believe it." Belief in love, in goodness, in divine order, alters the vibration of your being, and therefore, the reality you experience as you live from love. You also begin to notice subtle shifts in your body, mind, and spirit. Stress decreases because love doesn't resist what is. The body heals faster because love harmonizes energy. The mind becomes clearer because love releases fear. Even your environment responds, people treat you differently, circumstances align more gently, and life feels lighter. This is not coincidence, it is the law of vibration in action. Whatever frequency you hold within, you call forth without. When that frequency is love, your life becomes an expression of grace. You find yourself guided, protected, and supported by forces unseen but deeply felt. Every step becomes part of a divine rhythm. Every breath a reminder of your unity with all that is. To align with the frequency of love is to live as a conscious creator. You are no longer a victim of circumstances, but a vessel of divine will. You begin to understand that your purpose is not something to chase, but something to express. Love is both the path and the destination. It is the vibration that heals, the energy that transforms, the light that reveals. The more you align with it, the more your life becomes a reflection of the divine harmony that sustains the universe. Silence as the gateway to power is the understanding that within the stillness of your own being lies the most profound source of energy, wisdom, and divine connection. In the world you live in, noise has become the default state, external noise from people, media, and constant activity, and internal noise from restless thoughts, worries, and emotional turbulence. Yet beneath that noise there exists a sacred stillness, an unshakable presence that has always been there. Dr. Wayne Dyer often reminded us that everything we seek already exists within, but to access it, We must quiet the surface level of the mind. Silence is not emptiness, it is fullness disguised in stillness. It is the space where the infinite meets the finite, where divine guidance can be heard clearly because the interference of the ego has been softened. In silence, there are no masks, no roles, no expectations, only the truth of what you are. When you begin to understand the power of silence, you realize that it is not something to escape into, but something to return to. Every moment of noise and distraction pulls you outward, while silence draws you inward, back to the center of your being. It is in this inner sanctuary that the voice of the divine can be felt, not as a sound, but as an energy of deep knowing. Most people believe power lies in action, words, and effort, but true power arises from alignment, and alignment can only occur when you are in tune with the stillness within. The silence inside you is not passive, it is dynamic and creative. It is from this silence that inspired thoughts emerge, solutions appear, and intuition flows freely. When you learn to sit in silence without trying to fix, change, or control, you begin to experience the immense clarity that silence offers. It becomes the fertile soil in which the seeds of divine ideas can take root. The mind is like a turbulent ocean, constantly in motion, tossing thoughts and emotions in every direction. The more you identify with those waves, the more chaotic life feels. But beneath the surface of the ocean, there is a still depth that remains undisturbed. Silence is that depth. It is the state where you stop chasing after waves and instead sink into the calm waters of awareness. This depth is not created through effort, it is revealed when you stop resisting what is. Dr. Dyer taught that the purpose of meditation and quiet reflection is not to become something new, but to remember that you already are connected to Source. Silence reconnects you to that truth. It reminds you that you are not the noise of your thoughts, but the awareness behind them. You are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. In this realization, a quiet strength begins to emerge, a strength that doesn't shout, doesn't fight, but simply knows in silence. The ego loses its grip because the ego cannot exist without noise. It feeds on comparison, judgment, and constant activity. It fears stillness because stillness exposes its illusion. When you sit quietly, not as a thinker but as an observer, you start to see how many of your thoughts are repetitive, unnecessary, and fear-based. You see that the mind loves to keep you busy with problems, regrets, and projections, all to distract you from the vastness of your true self. The moment you become aware of this, the ego begins to dissolve and a new energy takes its place, an energy that feels peaceful, expansive, and deeply empowering. This is the power of silence. It strips away the false so that the real can emerge. The more comfortable you become in stillness, the more you realize that silence is not the absence of life, but the essence of it. There is a profound intelligence that operates in silence. It is the same intelligence that grows trees, heals wounds, and moves planets. When you align yourself with silence, you align with that intelligence. You stop forcing outcomes and begin allowing life to unfold in divine timing. You learn to trust the pauses, the gaps, the spaces between thoughts and actions. These are not empty moments, but sacred intervals where the universe recalibrates energy. In silence, inspiration flows naturally because there is no resistance. You might find that after sitting quietly, answers you've been seeking suddenly appear in your awareness, not through effort, but through allowing. This is the creative dimension of silence. Every great invention, every profound piece of art, every spiritual awakening begins with a moment of quiet awareness. It is in that silence that the human mind connects with the infinite mind of God. The world often celebrates noise as a sign of success. Busy schedules, constant talking, endless movement. But those who truly understand power know that silence is where transformation happens. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and mystics have always known the value of retreating into quiet spaces to realign with truth. Silence doesn't make you detached from life. It makes you more present within it. It heightens your sensitivity to energy, to emotion, to intuition. You begin to sense when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait. This attunement to divine rhythm brings a kind of effortless flow to your life. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop reacting and start responding. In silence, you become grounded in the unshakable awareness that everything is unfolding as it should. The power of silence also lies in its ability to heal. When you allow yourself to be still, you give your mind, body, and spirit permission to rest and reset. The noise of constant thinking keeps your nervous system on high alert, but silence activates the body's natural capacity for balance. Emotionally, silence gives you the space to feel without judgment. You begin to notice subtle sensations and unprocessed emotions rising to the surface. Rather than suppressing them, silence invites you to hold them with compassion until they release. This process of inner listening leads to profound emotional healing. Spiritually, silence opens the door to divine communion. It allows you to experience God not as a concept or belief, but as a living presence within you. In those quiet moments, you realize that you are not alone, that you are surrounded by and infused with an infinite love that has no boundaries. Silence also teaches humility. In silence, you recognize that the universe operates perfectly without your constant interference. You see that control is an illusion, that your true power lies not in manipulating circumstances, but in aligning with divine order. When you become silent, you begin to witness how life unfolds with grace when you stop trying to dominate it. You start trusting the unseen forces that are always at work. You realize that silence is not weakness, but wisdom. It is the space where the ego surrenders to the soul, where your personal will merges with divine will. In this surrender, miracles happen naturally because you are no longer resisting the flow of creation. To cultivate this connection to silence, you don't need to escape to mountains or monasteries. Silence is always available because it exists within you. You can access it in the middle of chaos, during a walk, or even in a crowded room by bringing your awareness to the present moment. All it takes is the willingness to pause, to breathe, to listen. The practice is simple yet profound. Whenever you notice yourself caught in thought, gently return to the stillness behind it. Over time, this stillness becomes your home base, the place you return to no matter what is happening externally. From this state, your energy stabilizes, your intuition sharpens, and your words gain power because they now come from alignment rather than reaction. Silence purifies not only your speech, but your presence. People begin to sense peace around you because your energy carries the vibration of stillness. Dr. Wayne Dyer often spoke of the creative power that emerges when one is attuned to silence. He described it as being in harmony with Source, where ideas, guidance, and inspiration flow without effort. When you operate from silence, your actions become inspired rather than forced. You start to experience what athletes call the zone, where everything seems to move effortlessly through you. This is not coincidence. It is the natural result of being in resonance with divine intelligence. The less you resist, the more you receive. The quieter your mind, the louder your intuition becomes. The more still you are inside, the more effective you become in the world. Silence gives you access to a dimension of consciousness that transcends time, fear, and limitation. From that dimension, you create not from need, but from wholeness, not from desire, but from knowing. There's also an undeniable beauty in silence. It teaches you to be comfortable with yourself. Many people fear silence because it confronts them with their own thoughts and emotions. Yet once you pass through that discomfort, you discover peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. You realize that you are enough as you are, that you don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. Silence reconnects you with your own presence, with the divine energy that breathes through you. In that realization, loneliness disappears because you recognize that you are never truly alone. You are always accompanied by the infinite consciousness that expresses itself through you and as you. This awareness brings freedom, the freedom to be, to feel, to exist without needing validation or distraction. As you deepen into silence, time begins to dissolve. You experience moments where you lose sense of past and future and exist only in pure awareness. These are glimpses of eternity, where the boundaries between you and the universe blur. You begin to understand that silence is not just the absence of sound, it is the essence of God. Every sacred text, every enlightened teacher points to this truth in different words: be still and know. Knowing doesn't come from thinking. It comes from being. And being can only be experienced in silence. This is why silence is the gateway to power. It reconnects you to your true nature as consciousness itself. In that recognition, fear loses meaning, doubt loses grip, and you realize that everything you have ever sought was already within you. When you live from this awareness, silence begins to infuse every part of your life. You carry it with you into your interactions, your work, your relationships. You no longer react impulsively because silence has taught you patience. You no longer seek validation because silence has shown you your own worth. You no longer fear uncertainty because silence has revealed the constancy of divine presence. Every word you speak carries more meaning because it arises from stillness rather than noise. Every action you take becomes infused with calm strength because it is aligned with the quiet rhythm of the universe. Silence becomes your foundation, your power, your connection to the eternal source of all creation. Through silence, you begin to sense that everything is connected by an invisible harmony. The trees, the wind, the stars, your heartbeat all pulsate with the same energy, the same divine music that plays eternally beneath the noise of the world. When you listen deeply, you hear that music not with your ears but with your soul. You feel it vibrating through every cell of your being. You understand that silence is not the opposite of sound, but the background that gives sound meaning, just as the divine presence gives form to life. To live in silence is to live in harmony with the universe, to move with the flow of divine will, and to realize that true power does not come from force but from presence.